We're going to end today with a panel led by the very amazing Kelly Stuart, who is CEO of Collaborative Classroom. Hello, Kelly.
Hi, Leslie. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. And we have a whole group of folks who are going to chat today around systems work and what does this take and how do we get resources and what are they and all those great things. So Kelly, you want to take it away and lead that panel discussion for us?
I would love to. Thank you, Leslie. And I think, you know, the masterminds of this whole event timed this right. Just looking in the chat of what people are going to do when they leave, I think this session will leave folks with even more practical ideas. So I love seeing how much the needle has been moved in these last 5 years. It's pretty amazing. And all the spotlighting today, I've been part of all of the sessions, and just hearing the evolution here in California is actually pretty exciting. And I think keeping this momentum going is great. So yes, today's session is all about the time is now, investing in educator success for literacy. And we have an amazing panel that's going to be joining me in this session, who really, you know, between the four of them are responsible for probably most of the professional development courses that are happening in California and across the country. So these are certainly experts in their field. But today it's not going to be commercials for what they do, but it's really going to be what are they learning as they're working with districts, systems, how they see moves happening. We're also going to get into what questions should you all be asking of your systems, of providers, and then we're going to end with some bright spots. So I want to welcome the whole panel on with me now, if all those folks want to come into the room so that they can introduce themselves. Excellent. Welcome, Jeanne. It's good to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
Welcome, Maya. Hi, Jessica.
Oh, I don't have the background, sorry.
That's all right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're waiting for one more, but I'm going to let each of our colleagues introduce themselves and just say a little bit about who they are and who they represent, and then we're going to get right into our questions, and it's going to be, I think, a really helpful discussion. So Maya, I'm going to kick it off with you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I am so excited to be here. I've been here all day as well and have been learning so much and so inspired. So exciting, all of this work. My name is Maya Valencia Goodall, and I am the Chief Strategy Officer at Core Learning. And what we do at Core Learning is take the science of reading and create professional development that also includes second language acquisition. So how does someone learn a second language and learn how to read at the same time? That's really what we focus on the most, language diversity along with science of reading. So I'll pass it to, do I choose someone, Kelly, or do I pass it?
Go for it.
All right. How about let's go to Jessica.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here. I'm Jessica Sullivan. I am the literacy coordinator with the Los Angeles County Office of Ed, also known as LACOE. And here at LACOE, we support the 79 school districts. There's a lot. And the many hundreds of charter systems that we have here in LA County. And also because we're such a well-resourced county, we're also able to provide support to districts and counties all over the state and even beyond into the rest of the nation as well. So just in terms of the work of structured literacy, we've developed a full suite of trainings for all levels that are open to anyone in the state and beyond. We're talking paraprofessionals, elementary teachers, secondary teachers, instructional coaches, administrators, and we're working on a little something for parents too. So stay tuned on that. But we have options for entire schools or districts, or even just individuals who want to be pioneers in this work, you know, out on maybe even on their lonesome. So we've got something, the full gamut. We're really proud of our work and so honored to get to be a part of this day today. Oh, and I'll pass it over to Jeanne.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for letting me be here. I'm Jeanne Jeup. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Institute for Multisensory Education, or IMSE, as some of you may know. We've done a lot of work there in California. I'm really proud of the developments there. We provide a 30-hour professional development in the science of reading and structured literacy, as well as morphology. We offer a suite of services as well with phonological awareness, writing and grammar, you know, all the things that teachers need to check all those boxes to be successful in the classroom. And you have a woman in your state that some of you may follow, Carla Saravo, who does all of your digital resources to help for implementation. So we're always there supporting teachers in every step along the way.
Great.
Oh, sorry. And I think there's only one last person. Sorry, Jeanette. I'll pass the torch.
Oh, Jeanette, we can't hear you. Still on mute.
Hear me now.
There you go.
Oh, okay. New computer. Thanks, you guys. I'm so happy to be here. I'm representing Lexia Learning. We are a literacy company that has been around. We're celebrating our 40th birthday this year. And we provide solutions for both teachers and students around literacy. So we really bookend core curriculums in our professional development that supports both teachers, early childhood educators, and administrators in really leading the work around how to use evidence-based reading, as well as student-facing products that will support with progress monitoring and really giving that personalized learning that students need to really reach their maximum when it comes to literacy. And so we are just happy to be in space with all of these wonderful systems that are trying to rewrite the literacy landscape, especially here in California. And so we're excited to support today.
Great, thank you. And Jeanette, we're getting a little feedback from your computer. I don't know. I know it's new, but I don't know if there's any other adjustment that you can make, but welcome. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for being here. And I have experience talking to educators that have gone through all of your training. And I know one of the things I hear time and time again is, you know, once a teacher has the knowledge that they gain through a training like yours, they never lose it. And what that does for discernment of future curriculum choices, discernment of ideas, makes a huge difference. So just thank you for all of what you do. Let's go ahead and get started. So we are a massive, beautiful state. I want to just get a little input from all of you of what are some of the needs that you're seeing, and what are some of the ways systems are kind of moving forward today. So Jessica, we'll start with you.
Sure. Yeah. You know, one of the things that we've noticed here at LACOE is that a lot of folks are coming to us for looking for like a magic fix, a quick fix. And something that we've said time and time again, I'm sure that all of my colleagues here would agree that that's really not how you get at systemic change. So when we look at, I know this has been a day of looking at data and the season of looking at data, but when we look at our CASP results and see that fewer than 50% of our students are where we want them, we want to see some significant changes with data. And then I say, like a broken record in all of our trainings, that if we want a significant shift in data, it's going to take a significant shift in instructional practice, and then the designs that support that instruction and a flood of resources. So it's really not about getting a new curriculum and that's the magic fix, or even sending teachers to a one-off PD day and like, oh, good, we had these 4 hours. What should we do? Well, we'll do a science of reading training, and then that's going to be the magic fix. Most LEAs need an infrastructure overhaul, and it's multi-level in order to get at the kind of support that a kind of change and data shift that they're looking to get. And that means that they need to have a plan. We're looking at building a plan over time that's going to address an entire system. So not just curriculum, but also knowledge for teachers, but also primary and also elementary and also middle and also high school and also paraeducators. And also what about the administrators and what about the daily schedule? And so many different pieces. It's not just a one and done. It's a marathon, and it takes a lot of time. So I know that here at LACOE and all of my colleagues here from different organizations, we offer support in all of those things. So people shouldn't feel like they're on an island having to invent. But when we think about the needs, it's multifaceted, and there are so many different places to begin the work that each system needs to take a look and decide where is going to make the most sense for their particular setting.
Jessica, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's a whole holistic view, 360 view for all the students are at the core of everything that we're doing. And I love the way you kind of like built it up. It's not just HQIM adoption, that's one piece. It's not just the coaching, that is another piece. It's not just the implementation of that coaching, that's another piece. It's really that three-pronged approach and making sure that all of those pieces are working together. And of course, one of the questions that's really good to ask is, how are all of the students in terms of their language diversity being addressed in all of those areas? It's really important, like you said, California, we know that, about approximately 50% of our students are not reading on grade level, which just is just mind blowing. And we also know that over 20% of those students are multilingual learners. And so they also have the gift of learning another language at home and coming to school to learn English, which means they're becoming bilingual by coming to school, which is amazing. It's also a paradigm shift. We haven't always positioned it that way as a benefit. And I think we're all of us here on this panel and in this whole entire day summit and the Reading League in general, we are embracing that goal towards bilingualism and making sure that all the teachers know that the students can learn how to read, write, and speak in two languages at the same time. All of this science of reading that we're talking about is applicable to more than one language. And that's really, really key for all of us to remember. Sometimes it feels a little bit scary and maybe people are not sure that the science really applies, but it applies to everyone, to all the languages. We can do this. Our brains are capable of it. The students' brains are capable of it. And one last thing I'll just say is, asking the teachers, do you believe that 95% of your students can learn how to read? If any of that question gives you a little bit of nerves, heebie-jeebies, that's okay. You just have to know, and then we have to deal with that, and then we have to train for it. But we have to put the stake in the ground. We know that 95%, and that means all of our students, multilingual learner students included, not just monolingual students. So obviously we're all excited about this. We care so deeply about this conversation. But that's what I would say, things that people are seeing and talking about.
Yeah, I also, that's great. And I totally agree with you, that whole systemic approach. I really believe it's the framework coming from the top down, and being those leaders, being the voices for teachers and parents and children. And I feel like we have to give teachers the accessibility to get trained, give them the time. Like as I think Megan was saying, that we got to give them the space and the grace to get trained and that accessibility, because teacher knowledge is critical and that professional development is critical so they can instruct in the high quality instructional materials. And if we don't give them the time to learn and practice and have that support of implementation, I think that's where we can fall short.
Echoing everything that everyone is saying in the space around systems and frameworks, I also think it's really important that teachers understand why. Like you said it, Maya, like we know 95% of students have the cognitive capacity to learn how to read. And so yes, they might get the EBGBs, but if they really understand the why of what's happening within the brain and how to intervene for students that need additional practice or supports, they're just going to be so much more impactful on how they use their high quality resources and to identify the areas of the gaps and whatnot. And so just really understanding the why behind why we're doing all of this.
Thank you. One of the other, I think, things that's really helpful is asking questions. And so I'm curious, what questions you're seeing districts ask themselves as they prepare to better prepare their teachers, and even maybe what questions they should be asking people like you who are going to come and be supporting them. So you can kind of take it any direction. Jeanne, I'll start with you.
Yeah, that's great. I really feel that the Reading League has done a great job of providing a rubric. And I think that's the framework. So you basically look internally and see, like, where are my holes? What do I need? What do I already have in place? Like, what's working? Let's figure out what we have before we start throwing things at what we don't have. And I think once you kind of look at that rubric and you kind of see, like, what support do my teachers need? What teacher knowledge do they need? What do the children need? We can kind of systematically go through that checklist and then really make some, decisions about what kind of training or materials or whatever we need to be put in place. I'll pass it on to whoever wants to go.
I'll jump in. So one of the things that I think is absolutely pivotal in this work is having a reflective time talking about if the assessments that we have in place are really serving us the way that we need them to be. So are we just doing assessments for compliance sake? Are we using the data? Are we saying, okay, here's a board presentation. Isn't this nice? Or are we using the data to actually drive student achievement further? Do we have something that really pinpoints skills in the foundational skills to get at mastery? What about in the upper grades? Or what if we have a 4th grader or even a 10th grader who maybe has some gaps in foundational skills? Do we have an assessment and a system in place to suss that out? What about maybe we are a school where we've worked really hard in bringing in these fabulous curricular resources and training up our teachers, and we're really all about structured literacy and following the science of reading, but our assessments are grounded in balanced literacy, like we're doing running records, or we're providing assessments that are leveling the kids in a way that's driving us to leveled readers in our intervention. And when that happens, we have a systems disconnect. And so I think that one of the most powerful ways that we can drive intentional skill-specific work forward is taking a really close look at our assessments and making sure that they're serving us in the most effective way possible.
I love that, Jessica. I'll just pick up on that. Yeah, I mean, data drives our instruction. If you don't have data, if you don't know what your students are doing, you don't know how well they're doing, or if you have a mismatch with assessments. And the other thing, I think I'm going to circle back to what Long Beach was talking about today. If the data is telling you that the majority of your students are not reading on grade level, this is not an intervention activity. This is a tier 1 activity. Like, going back to the 95% of your students can learn how to read, they're cognitively capable of doing that, and you're not seeing that in your data. This is a tier 1 thing. We got to learn how to teach reading. The beautiful thing is we know how to do this. I mean, it's very well, all of us on this panel, it's very well delineated. We have the scope and sequence. We know how to train teachers how to do it. We as teachers know how to do it. If you have ever had the amazing good fortune of teaching someone else how to read, you know how satisfying that is and how much you want to do it over and over and over again as much as you can. And so it's not a mystery. It takes time, sure, or it takes effort. I think it takes less time than there's, what was it earlier today, like a brisk pace. I feel like there was a better way of saying that, but it's like, it does not have to take forever. We should move a little faster. The brain can handle it. I think sometimes we go so slow, perky pace. Thank you. Because, we think that kids can't take it. Well, they can. Our brains, their brains, we can handle this. There's a lot of our brain that was designed for this. It has to be, through effective instructional practices, but the brain is quite amazing at all the things that it can learn at one time. So, yes, that data and the tier 1, and then that perky pace.
I think also just shifting it towards like a lot of the work that California's done around literacy, we're getting a lot of questions here at Lexia around the dyslexia screener and how can we as districts be prepared to proactively support what the data is going to reveal around that. And it's going to reveal some gaps for a lot of student groups. And so I think that's also something to be mindful of. Are you selecting professional development that is accredited by the Dyslexia Association and going to support students of all capabilities? And I also think that just making sure the leadership behind this is there, because we have some great teachers that are big influencers and don't have the supports within their systems to really change things for students. And so just making sure that the whole system is going through the change together is something that we want to be mindful of.
Thank you. One of the things that we also want to just talk a little bit about today, and we've been doing this throughout all of the sessions, but what are some of the bright spots that you're seeing from your organizations? You're supporting a lot of school systems in our state. And so I'd love to spend a little chunk of time on some of the bright spots and what you feel like happen to get those folks there. And it can be big or small, but I think it's really helpful to share that perspective. Jeanette, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Okay, I'm going to pick a particular bright spot because I've watched this region of California really shift the way that they are approaching literacy, and they've done it in such a cohesive way. This is Riverside County. They are an amazing group of educators, and they were influenced by Sacramento County Office of Education, who brought them into the learning around the science of reading with the whole grant that took place where we were educating county offices more around the science of reading. And this County Office of Ed they have a reading initiative, Reading by Fifth Grade, and that has really been their North Star in how they lead the work. But they have really empowered many of their districts in selecting science of reading training that's going to really change them. And so as a county, they have everybody working towards the same goal. They have cohorts of administrators using the same framework that complements the professional development that teachers are going through. And they've even brought in early childhood educators to really learn the work that needs to be done as we're really bringing kids into the educational system. And so it's so exciting to see cohesiveness and direction from a system where you're actually seeing transactional change throughout the region. And so big kudos to them. They're really like change agents out there.
Thank you. Who'd like to go next?
I can go next. We have a specific success story actually in California. We have been working with Palo Alto for quite some time now, and there was just an article that was released recently that they were taking data from 2022 to now, and they had 54% of students were below grade level, 54%. Okay. And in the fall of 22, and now they have reached and surpassed their grade level. So that is quite impressive, utilizing, IMSE's approach at both the elementary grades and middle school grades with morphology.
Thank you.
I'll jump in here. I want to share two specific bright spots. There's been a lot of just amazing pockets of work happening up and down the state as we've trained through our Getting Reading Right program, but two in specific really stand out, and both have been recognized here today, which is exciting. So the first I want to shout out is Long Beach Unified. So Long Beach engaged with us a couple of years back. They started off really intentionally. That's the piece that we've been so blown away by. It's not been a one and done. They've really understood the many layers and pieces that it takes to get the job done, and they've done it systematically. So they started off a couple of years ago with us training just their interventionists in our Getting Reading Right program. And then, and also their RSP teachers and their ed specialists, they were first out there, the pioneers of the work, showing pockets of success within their school sites. And then they brought in all K2 teachers, 1,000 K2 teachers. And we built them up with the Getting Reading Right program. But it wasn't just that. It was also that their curriculum and instruction department, before all of that training came down the pipeline, they had already updated all the unit maps and the supports were ready to go. They had removed as many barriers as they could prior to training teachers so that teachers would have no blockades. They could just go full steam ahead instead of saying, what we often hear, but what about this resource? What about this disconnect? How about that? They had already answered all of those questions and removed the barriers. Then they trained up all of their elementary principals in our administrators reading collaborative, which was unheard of, to put an entire district's worth of elementary principals through training of this kind to really help with the systems piece. And then they moved on to beginning to address this at the secondary level too. So big kudos to Long Beach Unified. But that's not all. Wait, there's more. We also have so many bright spots that we want to share with Lancaster School District, who we heard from Lorraine, our award winner right prior to this panel. Lancaster was our CLSD grant partner with our Getting Reading Right project. And they really put their money where their mouth is. So they bought new curriculum, they fully trained their staff, they brought in coaching support, they got all new assessment systems, they brought in data protocols with PLCs. It was the real deal. And I can guarantee you that Lancaster nor Long Beach would say, oh, this work was really easy. We had no hiccups along the way. Nobody would say that, but they all, I think, would say it's really been worth it. And so many from Lancaster and Long Beach both have come forward and saying, gosh, this has been such an empowering experience. I feel like I'm actually making a difference. This has been transformative for my career. So those two districts, we want to applaud big time.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'll just follow up. We, also have our bright spots. We also shout out to SCOE. We work with SCOE as well and making sure that everyone in the county gets the training that they need, also with LACOE, and making sure that, we provide really service providers to any teacher and any district, any administrator, and all the things that they need for science of reading training. And specifically, I could talk about Pajaro Valley School District. They had an ALSB grant, and they did the three-pronged approach that we kind of talked about already on the panel, which is, the high quality instructional material. They also had coaching and then the implementation support with core learning. And we worked with them over time because it takes the time that it takes to implement all of this. And then we watched their scores just progressively go up and up and up. And one of the things that's really important, again, you know that this is my mantra, but all of this works with multilingual learners. So students can learn how to do reading and writing in two languages at the same time. And we understand, the work that it takes. Everyone on the panel does. So those are wonderful bright spots. It's so exciting to have these bright spots, and as Leslie, I'm taking a page out of Leslie's book, and make up awards. I mean, hey, there's plenty of time for celebrations, and we should just make the time for it. So I'm thinking about an award we can make up over here, and and yes, so yeah.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit, a little thread that's coming through is around administrators being part of the training and leading a lot of this. And I'd love to also hear your thoughts on sustainability, because, a lot of folks will put the effort in to get everyone trained, maybe bring materials in, align their assessments. And then we have teacher turnover. We have administrative turnover. What are you kind of seeing? How are you helping folks think about the long-term sustainability of these efforts?
I'll start, Kelly. I think that's really important. And I think this is where technology comes in, right? Here's where you have an opportunity to really use technology to your advantage to help with the sustainability. I mean, we hear about the turnover all the time, not just the teachers might change, you get new teachers, but then also the admin changes. And so this is an opportunity to use technology to leverage that so that everyone can be always in the know with the information that they need for implementation of science of reading, making sure that all of your system and I think it was Jessica, you described like every single person in the system is being trained. So clearly when you do that, a few people changing at the top or new teachers coming in isn't going to move the whole system. It's not going to shake down the house, but you can really use technology in your favor for this. You can learn a lot about what teachers are doing with your technology, so you can gather data. So, we're used to thinking about data in terms of the students, but you can also gather data on the administrators and the teachers, know what they've learned, what they need to learn in terms of going forward with their the scope and sequence of the science of reading, where it is that they might need some extra practice. Long Beach was talking about that earlier. There's what we can do is we provide places and spaces for teachers to watch simulation videos. So you can actually have simulations of things that could happen in the class, and the teacher can decide what they can do next. It's a real low stakes way to kind of practice the new skills. So there's lots of ways, that we use AI and we use technology to provide for the training, the ongoing training. It never ends. Like we we're going to continue this on. I mean, just think about human society and how we pass down knowledge from one generation to the next, right? All of those things that we do in order to make sure that the next generation understands our culture, our ideas, how the civilization works. It's the same thing with teaching reading. So we just have to make sure that we're constantly giving people the opportunity to learn the information.
Yeah, thank you, Maya. That was great. I completely agree with every aspect of the educational system, just like in any organization or when you're building a house, like we need all people on deck. So we do a lot with our paraprofessionals as well as our administrators, because our coaching or our teaching is so much knowledge that they're getting and that they have to implement, but the administration can't go through 30 hours of training. So we just pared it down where they have like implementation videos that they can watch, like if they're going in, seeing a teacher and seeing what should they be doing? What does this look like? And having like a checklist so they can support those teachers, in real time. And really using AI for our sake is using AI to move the needle for data, because a lot of people collect the data, but they don't know what to do with the data. And they don't know where they go now. Are they moving them into what category and what group? Are they getting, they going into tier 2? Are they getting double dose? Are they getting triple dose? And using the same materials across every single tier. So we're not kind of shaking up that model. And I always say, like, whatever you use, stick with it. Like, that's great. And you're going to find that success within that program.
Yeah, to sort of circle back to Maya, you were mentioning though how critical, and Jeanne, you too, how critical it is to have all elements of the system involved. And as you mentioned, Maya, if we have an entire team on board, then one or two leaving the mix, or even half leaving the mix, isn't going to cause the whole bridge to collapse. In our California Administrators Reading Collaborative, we often give a nod to Kareem Weaver. Hi, Kareem. And we say that we want to make sure that we're keeping literacy on the front burner. It's got to be in the forefront of our minds all the time. And as you do that, you're building a culture of literacy across all members of the staff, all members of the system, even if it's, after our staff, janitorial, we're all keeping literacy on the front burner, and we're building this culture. And as part of that, we have this wide network of folks who are all invested in moving the needle forward. And that's not just the principal wearing the hat or the assistant soup wearing the hat of literacy leader, but there's a whole literacy leadership team at the district level and at the site level that includes teachers and coaches and administrators, all different levels, paraprofessionals, maybe parents as well. And together they're working to create what we call, it's like the touchstone of all of this work, which is a literacy action plan. So not willy-nilly, what do we feel like doing this month? What are we going to do this year or next year? Maybe with this literacy this year and math next year. No, we've got this guide that we've planned together as a system that's going to be a systematic approach to moving the needle for kids and being intentional at all levels. What do we need to do with our paraeducators? What do we need to do with our primary teachers? What about middle? What about high school teachers? What about our parents? What about any level of the system, and being intentional with all levels through an action plan and through keeping it always on the front burner.
100% agree, Jessica, Maya, and Jeanne. I also think some important tools that help sustain the work that you asked about, Kelly, is really having walkthrough tools so that you are gathering data on instruction and you're looking at data so that as you have teacher turnover, you're able to bring your rockstar teachers to the forefront to support with new teachers. And like you mentioned, Jessica, it is a systemic approach. We have some districts even educating their board members so that everybody's on board. Is that like music saying tie it
I
up?
don't know. I like the music, but I don't
like
think
a
we're done
hook,
yet.
like the gong or something.
I was all, and include your award.
I was like, uh-oh, are we getting the hook? Yeah. No, you guys are fine. You have time.
Okay. Anyways, but just really, it should be literacy at the forefront. Some of our most successful districts, Hemet Unified, for example, they educate their board members on the science of reading. It's at a very high level, but everybody is in the know so that when there's question about it, they all can speak actively about it. And so I think it's very important. Yes, Jessica, pick a tool like our Letters for Admin will help create a literacy action plan over time that will sustain the work at your system, and it will take it beyond literacy, right? If you have a data decision-making protocol, you can use it with math and attendance and behavior data. And so just really being mindful of all of those things as you're trying to sustain this huge change in your system.
Thank you for that. All right, so we just have a few minutes left, and then I think maybe the music will come back on, or maybe another award's gonna get given out. But I'd just love to invite each of our panel members, kind of, we've had a fabulous session here today, lots of bright spots, lots of talk about systems change. What advice would you have for our audience today as they leave? So I'll give you a second to think about it, and whoever wants to start can go ahead.
I'll start. What we often say is it can feel very overwhelming to engage on this work and pick where we should start. And, should I start looking at a teacher prep? Should I start by looking at curriculum? Should I start by addressing administrator systems? Where should we begin? And the number one piece of advice that I think anybody can take into consideration is just do something. There's no one right answer. It can go in any number of ways, and all of them are right ways. As long as you're making a step forward, it's a step in the right direction. It is progress. So my advice would be just do something. Pick one bright spot from your day today. I know that you've got mountains of notes. Pick one to lean into and run with it. Share it. Go up on the mountaintop and scream. Build a team around that one piece, and the work will grow from there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I always say start small. That sometimes it does get overwhelming when you have large districts and you have to have that whole systemic and everybody in place and doing the right thing at the same time. And, I think starting small and really getting that teacher buy-in and that knowledge and understanding of like, what are we doing, and really manipulating that into like what fits into like your core values at your school, that's going to stop from come from the top down and going all the way through to the parents. So it's super important to, have that leadership and direction in place, having the coaching in place, having the resources at your fingertips for ease of use, and again, driving that instruction, with data.
I think I would add to all of that, make sure you celebrate as you're learning forward with your system. And I also think, like you said, Jessica, get started, right? This is urgent, right? This is our future. These are the kids that are going to lead our world, and we have no time to waste. So if you're dragging your feet, remember who you come to work for every day and start moving that needle, and celebrate along the way. Definitely celebrate.
I mean, I think the panel has said it so well. All of these things are true. Get started, start small, and also, dig deep and wonder inside. Be curious about your own beliefs about the students who are in front of you. And if, I heard today, adults can either get in the way or they can lead the way. And so it's really important to be a leading in the way. And sometimes we have to get out of our own way in order to be able to lead. So be really honest with yourself about what you believe students are capable of and what you're capable of. And then start small, take one step towards the new reality that you're trying to create.
Thank you, Maya. All right. Well, I want to thank our entire panel. You've all been fabulous, and I think given the audience a lot to think about and places to look, and obviously get to know you a little bit. And I think one of the things we also talked about in prep for this, like, all of you have a service that you can offer to school districts. We're going to be sending information out, but I think it's just also important for the audience to recognize, like, we're all on the same side of the fence here. We are all trying to help schools and districts do better, so that children really have powerful literate lives. So I think it's just a great testament to the work in the community that's been built here. And so I just want to thank each of you for your participation today. And Leslie, I think I'm turning it back over to you.